Even though we sometimes were not getting, we were happy with the joy the day would bring. Sneaking out the back door, hang out with those hoodlum friends of mine.
Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Level Up Cleveland. And this week, we got the fellas in here from the Fiddle Revolt. That's right. I got it over here. We'll announce you guys, let everybody know who you are. And then I'm going to tell everybody who not just didn't make it, but left you guys hanging here by yourselves.
Yeah.
All right, here I got Alex Beck. Alex is the fiddler.
That's right.
He's the guy who plays the fiddle and makes without him, there would be no reason to call it Fiddle Revolt.
That is true.
And you also play guitar. You also do vocals.
Yep.
So you got. It seems like everybody in the band has multiple jobs. Nobody just does one thing.
Absolutely.
And then I also have Steven Mason here with us.
How's it going?
Steven's drums, keyboards. He also does backup vocals too, or lead. Do you guys switch off leads too, or is there?
Oh yeah,
We do.
yeah. Pretty much 4-part harmony on every song.
Really?
Yeah.
So you guys have to work at. So these songs aren't just something that you guys can do quickly. You guys actually work this stuff out.
They are very produced.
Cool.
And orchestrated, I would say.
Cool.
Yeah.
The guys that didn't make it to here, we have Twan, which is Anthony Haddad. He's your bass player. Also does vocals. He's actually the one that booked this for you guys, and doesn't even show up for it.
Right. Exactly.
Ian Harlow. Ian is does similar thing, drums, keyboards, and vocals. We'll talk about that later as far as how that all works out. You guys have the same instruments. And Nigel Pinnell, guitar and vocals.
Yep.
Who do you have a main lead singer, a guy that sings most of the songs, or is it really that split up?
It's either Alex or myself.
Yeah, I probably sing the most of them, but part of the concept of the Revolt was like not to really like establish pigeonholed genres and like that kind of stuff. So like all rotating lead vocals, it plays into that well.
So you guys not only not pigeonholing yourself into a genre, but how bands mechanically usually operate. You guys are even kind of taking that and saying, fuck it.
Correct. Yeah.
Intentionally so.
Yeah.
That is on purpose. Yes.
Yeah, because so let's get right away into then the fact that you guys, there's two of you guys who both drums, both keyboard, both vocals. You guys are actually just swapping it out, man. You guys are back and forth. One time one guy plays drums and then the other guy plays drums and blah, blah, blah. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, during our live shows, we do physically, I will stand up from the drum set and we switch positions on stage. I walk over to the keys, he goes over and sits down behind the drums, and that's just the way we do things. We know our parts on every song, and that is usually established during the writing process. At some point during the writing process, it becomes either Ian or I go, I want to play drums.
Oh, is that how you do it?
Yeah, that's pretty
much.
Then
so it's recorded that way also.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was
So
gonna
whoever
ask
records it on the album is typically the one. There's maybe one or two exceptions, but 90% of the time, whoever recorded the track is playing it live.
So is it fair to say that you're both equally the drummer and both equally the keyboard?
Yeah.
So when one guy goes in, there's no suffrage here. It's like, there's nothing like, I can tell it's him playing because it's not as good as.
Right.
Or are you guys?
We are completely different drummers.
But style-wise.
Style-wise.
Okay.
Completely different sound. Ian comes from a metal background. He was in a metal band for a long time before this, and he's got all those really nice hard rock chops. He does all that. I was a jazz studies major in college, so I have a lot more funk background and like that kind of thing. So like my grooves tend to be like funkier, a little bit more linear. It's just like, it's a more groovy thing. And then he's like, he will rock your face.
So it's not necessarily just I'll take this one type scenario. You guys, because you differentiate your styles so much, the song will kind of dictate who's going to do what and stuff more 100%. Than anything, right?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
That makes it a lot easier for us to do songs that are completely different genres. Like we have a pop song that I play drums on. We have one that has a little bit of a more Latin feel. I play drums on that one. And then we have ones where they were playing like all the guitars are tuned down a half step and in like drop F or something ridiculous, like super low and chuggy. And then he's just going ham behind the kit. So like we do everything from hard rock to Latin to pop to all of it.
Yeah, and you guys and looking you guys up, there's quite a bit of material that you guys have put out already, and there's a lot to go to for you guys. But I want to just kind of start from the beginning real quick.
Sure.
You guys actually were a backup band, sorta. You were playing for a country outfit.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys want to say names or whatever, but
no, it's like Voldemort. It's like he who shall not be named.
Oh, really? So it's like that team up north.
Right.
Yes.
There you go.
Sure.
So that's how you guys.
Yeah.
Did you?
That's
meet?
how we met.
Is that how you met? Was he forms this band? You guys become the band, and then you meet, and then something happens, and you guys decide to.
Well, the best way. I mean, that is the origin story of our name too. We got our name from that band, and there is a pretty hilarious story behind that. I don't know if Alex wants to tell it or if I do. I've been talking a lot.
Well, start with him and Nigel have been playing music together for
well, that's true.
Like what, decades at this point?
15, 18 years, something like that.
And then I actually met Nigel. He owns a coffee shop, and I met him because he had instruments like on the wall of the coffee shop, and so we started talking, and I name dropped Yanni, which like only a huge dork would like know who that is.
Love Yanni.
And he went right into it. And that's how we like became friends, was because he name dropped Yanni, and which we later did go to a Yanni show and cause plenty of chaos because they weren't ready for like us.
The 50-year-old moms were not ready for it.
They asked us politely to behave ourselves a little bit more, but it was pretty funny.
Mainly, will you put that out, please?
Yeah, right.
They're our children.
Nobody's ever raged a Yanni
if you
concert
catch
before,
my drift.
I got catch it.
But so we came together. They got in this country band, and there were so many people in this freaking band. There was like 7 people in this band, and this dude's like, oh, like come join this band, and I'm going, you don't need like a 4th guitarist or whatever is going on. And then I'm like, oh, like I do play the violin, and so like just like that, I ended up in this country band too. And none of us are really necessarily like country people. We're definitely more on the rock and roll side. So we did that. I put up with it for a few months, and then, like, I don't know if I quit or he would say I was fired. And then there was a big falling out and temper tantrum on the phone where he said he didn't want to hear about this nonsense and this whole Fiddle Revolt, and like that's where the name came from. And it was like really funny. It's kind of like a joke.
It's like back at you type thing. It's
yeah,
like, oh yeah.
I'm sure he's mad about it. You know what I mean? Like it's like. But it's a cool name. So now I'm the revolting fiddle player. That's what I always say.
So, playing the fiddle and playing violin aren't necessarily the same thing. It's 2 different styles of violin, right? So
correct. Yeah.
So when you said that I know how to play violin, I'm assuming violin maybe from school or something to that nature is where you kind of got into that instrument.
Yep.
So did you have to like tweak everything to learn how to incorporate the fiddle or the violin into what it became? Was it something you had to kind of work at?
It's like a stylistic difference, right? So I always say the joke, what's the difference between a violin and a fiddle? It's a violin has 4 strings and a fiddle has 4 strings. Because it's like, it's just like a description of like a style and like a more relaxed thing, and for me, I grew up, I played violin in school orchestra for like a few years. So that would be like my classical training, which wasn't a ton. I think I only made it to like 7th grade. It was like 4th to 7th grade. And then I put it down forever. And I was in a band in Cleveland called Debussy when I came out of college. And at the very end of that, I had like picked that up again because we had gotten another guitarist and we were kind of looking for like a way to differentiate. So I picked the violin up again for like one brief fleeting moment, and then until I got into that country band, I didn't really touch it again. So it's something that kind of naturally developed where like I don't have a super extensive classic training, and then like adapting that to rock was something that it was like I was already more comfortable with that because of the way that I play guitar and stuff. So it was just kind of translating that to the other instrument, which was interesting, but it's a lot of fun now. In the beginning, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm out of my mind. But
well, you remind me. I actually, my daughter, when she was in high school, she was a cello player, and you know who Mark Wood is he was in Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He was the viola player back then.
Okay.
He would once a year he would pick a school and he'd bring Trans-Siberian Orchestra to that school and play with their orchestra.
That's sweet.
Rock songs.
That's sweet.
And it was the Sabotage drummer from Trans-Siberian Orchestra and him, and then he had a couple other people that would come with them, like I said. But they did Stairway to Heaven. They did Purple Haze. They did Sunshine of Your... They did all the classic, and he would play viola, but he like does the Stairway to Heaven guitar solo.
On a viola, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And I kind of noticed you kind of remind me of that whole vein, what he did, where he played the viola, but like a lead guitar when he was playing it. You were playing solos and you were doing, but it wasn't a typical fiddle solo where you would hear like on Charlie Daniels.
Right.
It was more of a rock guitar solo, but with that fiddle sound to it, the violin sound to it, which really gives it a whole different perspective and a feel and everything.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of, sort of like that. That's how you kind of play it, right? Would you say?
Yeah, the violin, it's a unique instrument just because of where it sits, like in the mix. It's very prominent, and even acoustically. I mean, obviously that's why the orchestras didn't need to plug in when there's like hundreds of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say that's pretty much the way I go about it. It's like I learned guitar basically self-taught and kind of just play by feel, and so when I picked the violin back up, it kind of was a similar thing. So there's, solos and melodies more than like the textured like background, like just violin chord or if you will, or like, yeah.
I noticed I was watching some of the videos of you guys playing live and stuff like that, and you kind of play it like a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Even when you're not solo and you're you'll strum it, you'll pluck it, you'll do all kinds of stuff to kind of like fill in more sound, give it that extra little something that only you guys kind of can get because you have that fiddle, which is really in more of your country type music. You guys have kind of like said, nah, you can do this too, and we're going to show you how. You're kind of like, there's not a lot of, I mean, I don't know many bands doing it. The horn thing became popular, you know, like, but this hasn't really caught on anywhere else that I've seen, and it's not like it's good. It's really good.
That's the one thing I'll give country a little bit of credit for is there's a lot of violin all through that whole scene.
Yeah.
And there isn't in like almost any rock or anything else. Like you said.
Classical, really. That's about the only other.
Which is why I think it's so important what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because, like, we're taking the violin out of the country, you know?
Yeah.
People hear the name. That is one slight thing about our name being the Fiddle Revolt is it tends to steer people to thinking that we're
outlaw country or something like that.
They hear the name and they're like, oh, you guys a country band? And we're like, actually, no, not at all. No offense to you country listeners out there, but not
your thing.
Usual thing, no.
But without it, you guys probably aren't a band, right?
Yeah,
because that
exactly. Without that like mild animosity, we probably wouldn't have had the whole.
A couple good things came out of that. For one, I wouldn't have primarily been on a violin. Like I don't think that would have happened, which was really cool. Two, he helped us fix the poo trench, which was
the poo trench,
which was pretty good. I moved into a house in Akron. It's a 1928, and we had like a crazy sewer backup situation. And this dude and his dad were a plumber. Yeah. And so like we ended up like rather than pay like $15,000 to like tear up my whole front yard, we like did this ourselves with like pickaxes and ended up shooting, 15 feet of poo tar into the air in the front yard when we found the issue, and it was
Well, you guys busted through the tile and it shot everywhere.
yeah, it was unlike anything you would ever see, but it was pretty.
I really wish there was a video of it.
I was gonna
somewhere.
say, couldn't you get a recording of it?
Oh, we did not know what was about to happen. We had no idea.
Someone doesn't have like a ring type thing on their door for across the street or something.
Oh, I don't even want to know.
So you guys, what's cool talking to you guys is that you guys are like very group oriented. So it's like there's not one guy leading the whole entire posse with everything.
Yep.
So does that kind of make it a little more difficult to write songs since you don't have the one main dude who's kind of like doing it? That makes it easy when it's one guy.
Yeah, it can. We did that on purpose. It's part of the reason Revolt is in the name is kind of you've hit a lot of it. In these conversations, like we didn't want to be one genre. We didn't want to have one singer. We call it lead singer syndrome.
Yeah,
When people get their whole situation going in their head, and we wanted to avoid that. We wanted to have more fun. We wanted to keep it fresh for us, for the audience, and be different. And like you said, there's a sound that is inherently, different and only accessible when you do something like that. And it can be a challenge writing to get any sort of like uniformity, but I don't know that that's necessarily what we want either. Like we don't want albums where people are like, oh, they're just like totally all over the place and out there, but we don't want all the tracks to sound the same. That's like one of my favorite things about our stuff is you don't get bored.
Right. Well, it's not the same thing twice.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's what we're trying to do now is find that balance of writing where like we still have that sound, that Fiddle Revolt sound, but it's not necessarily always the same person writing.
Do you guys spend more time in the studios and practices, or do you guys play out enough where, are you guys getting out a lot, playing out a lot, especially recently now that things are kind of getting back on track?
This past summer, finally.
Yeah.
This was our first solid summer in at least 2 or 3 years. I think we did 12 dates between May and September.
Pretty good.
So we had a pretty good summer. We're a little bit sparse out now because we're going into the winter and we're trying to get back into the studio a little bit more. It's been almost a year since our last single was released. Was what, June?
Something like that.
Was it like-
We haven't spent enough time in the studio.
Not
We
recently.
spend a lot of our time practicing and playing shows. And that's going to be kind of our focus for a little bit here is writing and going to the studio and creating new content for our schmoinglers, as we call our fans.
Yeah, we call them schmoinglers.
Do you guys, when you play live, do you ever have the situation come where a group of people show up expecting something else because they don't really know who you are, but the Fiddle Revolt brings them in and they're expecting a certain something and then they don't get it, they react a certain way? Anything like that ever happen? Or do you ever get odd reactions from people or like, I've been in bands and I know how it is when you're up there. You see faces and
Oh, yeah.
you know expressions and you know what they're thinking and how it's going.
Yeah.
And with you guys, Fiddle Revolt could be a lot of different things, there's probably some expectations going to it.
Yeah.
And then B, you guys have this huge diversity of things, so maybe by the end of the day, they still don't even know who the hell you guys really are as far as trying to pigeonhole you into something.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of that though from people? Do they respond, differently?
So the way we do that is we kind of trick them into like figuring it out, right? So like, for example, we were booked for an Americana festival in Kent.
Oh, man.
And we were kind of like, ooh, like, should we tell them that we're like probably not really Americana, like almost at all? Like it's a little bit of a stretch. Like, and then we're like, no, like, so we started off with like our scraping and like our only songs that you could say have like that kind of quality about them.
Yeah.
And then we like ease them into the more orchestrated like rock parts and like the movement. And we don't, if it's like that, I don't see it too much. It's more of people are surprised at like what our sound is and how loud we are. And but we usually are able to win them over because it's relatively universal in it's not like Swedish death metal or something where like your grandma's going to be offended. Like
No.
we can normally get across to most demographics.
Well, no, and you guys are all high level musicians too. It's you
Right.
guys can tell when I'm watching you guys. It's like you're not watching mid level type stuff here. You guys are all very good at what you're doing, so it's not as if it's being hacked. Follow me, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
not. There's no hacking going on here. It's
Yeah.
very good stuff going on.
Yeah,
Thanks for
see,
that.
I would almost disagree with you, Alex, there, because I would say that I see at least one of those reactions at every show.
Yeah.
Really?
I would say, yeah, every single time I'd say I see at least one.
Yeah.
One person that like came in thinking that we were going to sound a certain way, especially my friends. Because like, it doesn't matter how many times I try to describe the sound of my band to my friends, the first concert they actually come to is the one where they're like, whoa, okay, now I get it.
Yeah. Right.
It honestly, it really is impossible to understand what we're doing musically without
Seeing it or hearing it.
seeing a collective of songs. Like you can't listen to one song of
yeah.
ours and understand what our sound is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're-
that's true too.
We vary too much between each song for that to like work.
Is this all you guys each do? Is there anybody else and other stuff? Or you guys? This is your woman. You
Oh
know what
man,
I mean?
We
are
all have
burning
full-time
that candle.
Well, not so much that. I'm talking about other music.
Yeah,
bands, other bands, and
Yeah.
is this what you guys do exclusively with the music right now?
So Nigel, our guitarist, he's been in a cover band called No Control for quite some time.
I was
like,
in it
the
when we
Cleveland
were in like
area.
7th grade as well.
Yeah,
That
it's
was
been
how-
going on for a while. Like I've played bass in that band. Ian will play drums depending on the situation. Ian and Nigel started a side project recently called the Pour Overs. Because again, he owns a coffee shop, so that's like a coffee reference, and it's one of the girls that works there sings, and then him and Ian are in it. I play music with another dude named Nick who's in Like Tyrants, and was working on a project with him and my girlfriend called the Fiddle Daddies, because she actually is an orchestra director of Stowe Monroe Falls. And then Steve does solo stuff and is like a karaoke master over here.
Oh, really? Do you do karaoke or do you?
No, I just sing karaoke for fun because that was how
Do you
I
guys
met
have
a
your
lot
own
of my-
studio? Does somebody have their own studio,
We-
or do you guys buy time?
We both. So for tracking like live drums and stuff, if we need a really big live room, then we'll go to. Usually we're really good friends with Akron Recording Company. Huge shout out to ARC. They're awesome. We use them a lot for like big drum tracks, but a lot of the stuff is DIY. So we have little home studios set up. We had a studio we built in Alex's house in Akron. We have another little studio at Nigel's house in Stowe now. Pretty much wherever we are, we have microphones, we have the mixing boards, we have the capabilities to like do whatever we need. Anywhere, honestly.
Yeah, we recorded the string part of Disconnected and Keep Your Head Up actually in a gazebo. In
Oh yeah, in Froring Meadows.
yeah.
That was up near my house in
That was super cool.
Bainbridge.
Why'd you do that? What was the? How,
It was an 8-sided concrete gazebo with concrete floor and stone all around the outside, and then these big rolling glass doors, so you can kind of get an idea for the acoustics in there.
Yeah.
So we put Alex with his violin and our bass player Twan with the upright bass in the very middle of the room, and then we just spread mics out all around there, and the natural reverb we got from in there was awesome.
It was
No
insane.
And
I was mad at first because I was like a little bit sick and not understanding why we were going like an hour out of the way to like record. And like I got there and I'm all cranky and they're like, dude, play a note. And I just go like, wham, and it's like, and I'm like, oh, okay.
now I know.
Like, all right, I'm not that mad.
Yeah.
Like, and the upright in there was just insane.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was like,
It was so fat.
yeah.
Just womp womp. And it's just like this.
That's cool that he does. He has one of those too. You guys,
Mm-hmm.
because what I've seen, he's usually playing an electric bass. So it's
Yeah.
We don't bring it to gigs because
It's so much
unwieldy.
to move around.
you
Yeah,
know.
it's so much.
Maybe we will one day.
Have you guys ever thought about like a rockabilly type thing, or is there like a guys? I mean, that's the upright bass and the whole.
I could absolutely see us doing a rockabilly song.
Yeah.
not necessarily making it a whole thing.
Well, that's what I
but,
guess what
like,
I meant. I guess that's what I meant.
I
going
could
that direction.
absolutely see us doing at least.
Or
a
you could
song
pull
like
that thing out for something.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like you guys,
Absolutely.
you know, what's cool about you guys is that you have so much diversity as amongst yourselves. You know, each guy being able to be multifaceted and do other things like that. Yep. Like that's, you know, that if in your pursuit of being different, those are the ingredients to get there, right? You know what I mean? That diversity and that ability to do things. The fact that you can play keyboards for one song and then do drums for another song. Have you guys ever thought about doing dual drums, where you guys are both playing drums, or do you guys like do an aux thing where you have one guy kind of doing?
That was what I was going to say. Not two drum sets, but absolutely two rhythm parts.
So a full percussion type setup.
Yeah.
We've talked about, I have a glockenspiel too. Like we're going to get into some stuff like that live for sure. Like they have a cajon kit. Like all sorts of different stuff. Oh, Twan too. I didn't mention this when we were talking about side projects. Twan is also in Fun Girl with
Fun Girl.
Gabby.
With his sister-in-law, Gabby,
Yeah, and they play. So everybody is in side projects. Everybody's playing music all the time.
And you're all working.
And
on top of
all
it.
working full-time.
Mostly full-time, if not more. So, yeah, we're out there. We try to get to the scene when we can. My other pastime, when I have any minutes, is going to other concerts.
You got to see shows.
So I probably made it to like 100 shows this year or something like that.
Holy shit.
I
He's
got
insane.
the
I wish.
I was going about 2 or 3 a week. I just went to Red Rocks last weekend to see Incubus.
Oh, you're going out to see shows. You're not talking about local.
Everywhere. I mean, I'll go
Colorado.
I'll go local. I'll go to Pittsburgh. Like we went to see Ben Folds in Pittsburgh with the orchestra, and then came home and realized he was in Cleveland. Like the next day, went in Cleveland.
Oh my God.
And then we went to there was a show that Saturday too. I think it was a Blossom show because I got season lawn passes to Blossom. So
sweet.
I was everywhere.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the music you guys have out, so we can start. You know, I wanted people to know what you guys got out, where to get it, all that kind of stuff too, and talk a little bit more about what's coming up.
Cool.
When we come back, a couple minutes with Fiddle Revolt.
ZM Delgado, author of the Rust Belt Rock Review at ZachO'Lantern.com, and this is your weekend concert calendar update. Starting off Friday, November 4th at The Foundry, you're going to be able to see Some Kind of Nightmare with supporting acts, The Plaid Disasters, Wednesday Demonstration, Sector 442, and Shed Dwellers. Up next, Saturday the 5th, also at The Foundry, you can check out Varials with support from Dr. Acula, Orthodox, Distinguisher, and Lone Wolf. And if that's not your cup of tea, also Saturday the 5th, this time at No Class, you can see Nihilistic, The Hostile Amish, Born Deprived, and Lorraine Scum. There you have it, Cleveland. That's your weekend. Hope to catch you out at some shows. Thank you, as always, for reading. Thank you for watching Level Up Cleveland. Until next time, rock on, Rust Belt.
And we're back, everybody, with the guys here from Fiddle Revolt. So we got Alex and Steven with us, and there's a bunch of stuff we want to get to here. For one, your buddy's coffee company. You mentioned that he's got his own coffee place.
Yep.
What's it called?
It's Open Door Coffee Company in Hudson.
Hudson. And you guys said it's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. No,
Bomb Diggity is what you said. I think what
Diggity.
you said.
Yeah, it's Nigel and his mom, a little family business that they've been doing for how many years now? 5, 6 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. But yeah, right in downtown Hudson, right next to the big clock tower.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's right there in
First
that
and
main
main there.
intersection.
No kidding. Man.
But yeah, they're hopping. They're doing great.
Yeah, coffee, man. If you can make good coffee, man, people will pay top dollar for that
And
shit.
it's real deal stuff. It's like their own roast. They do, they.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have like
They know the ins and outs. They got the whole
yeah.
thing from start to finish.
Well, that's my thing. I thought before I knew him, I thought I knew about stuff like music and guitar and coffee, and then I really learned about that, coffee and stuff in depth, and I'm like, woo, didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I still don't know anything about coffee.
That's cool though, man. Now, do you guys have a permanent supply of coffee now because of this? Is this something like if Pat owned a coffee store, I'd be like, dude, you got to bring me some coffee.
So now that he moved out, my permanent supply has dwindled. But I will say, like, when Ian and Nigel were both working at the coffee shop and they were both living with me, and I bought a Breville espresso machine, which is like $700. It's like a good one. So, like, it got real bad there for a minute where, like, we were running this thing making, like, 3-4 espressos each a day for, like, 4 people. So we'd burn through a pound of coffee in, like, a day and a half.
Oh, man.
And once that settled down and tapered off, it, got to be where we're all making probably 1 latte a day and we're going through a decent amount. But now it's just me by myself and my cat, so it lasts a little bit longer.
Yeah,
We're coming over for band practice, and then Nigel's like making me a latte with a freaking swan on the top.
Yeah.
The cream.
He's drawing like ivy and like doing all this great. And we're just like at house at band practice, and he hands me this like gorgeous looking latte.
Gourmet coffee
and I'm like,
thing.
what?
We're pretty spoiled because I got the beer
kinda
situation
ridiculous,
pretty
like-
covered.
I was gonna say that too.
So.
You beat me. I was gonna say he's got the coffee,
Yep.
and with you doing the beer,
Yep.
like
And then
this
I do
is
the liquor. I'm a bartender.
Yep.
Oh, I thought you were gonna
Twan
tell me you
is
just
too.
still liquor too. I was like,
That's
Twan
Twan, our
does.
bass player.
Yeah, he
distills
does.
his own
He makes
whiskey.
wine. I was actually
And
in
his
his
own
wine
whiskey and
room.
bourbon.
His wine room
Yeah.
was intense. He's probably got like 100 bottles laying there, and he's got like 4 more carboys going.
I forget
so.
what he's had. It's turned gallons. I think he said he had close to like I don't know, at least 100 gallons.
what's he gonna do with all this?
He's aging
He
it.
drinks it. He
and
gives
then
it
we
away.
drink it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the giveaway part, I'm more interested in.
Yeah. We'll keep you on the next release.
Can you get on the list somehow?
Yeah,
We
okay.
want to get on the list. You guys were involved not too long ago into the Battle of the Land.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that's referring to the land, Cleveland.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit what happened with that thing. Were you guys even there?
Neither of us were there.
Neither of us were
So
there.
you two weren't there.
No.
So they stiffed you guys on the interview here, and then you guys are like,
Yeah.
Right.
I guess honestly, maybe that's what this is. This is this is a little bit of
So we all
a little
have
payback or something.
We all have like there's 5 of us, right? And we all have a section of the name that we say we represent. Right?
Oh yeah.
So like
this is good.
Fiddle.
He's
Re.
I'm Re of the Revolt.
Ian and Nigel have a production company called Voltage, so those two together we call
Volt.
Volt, and then Twan is the.
Yeah.
So depending on the show, the band that actually played the Battle of the Land was the Volt.
The Volt. Yeah. It was, the Volt is the
Yeah. And now we're just Refiddle.
Yeah, Fiddle Re. So we're right now you're talking to Fiddle Re.
Fiddle Re.
Yeah.
You couldn't. So they couldn't be Fiddle Revolt without you.
Yeah, well, it would just be the Revolt, you know?
Well, they this is a joke. They played as the Fiddle Revolt. Like we don't actually enforce. That's just our own.
I'm just saying though.
Yeah.
I mean, like we're just talking about how confused people could be hearing you with the fiddle.
Right.
When the Fiddle Revolt comes out
Yeah.
without the fiddle, I'm thinking, wow, that fucking.
Well, people get weird about that too. Like, they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't hear any fiddle yet," and it'll be like 4 seconds into a song, or it'll be a song I play guitar on, and it's like not every second is like fiddle.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Yeah.
just because it's in the name, but
Yeah. And, you know, like actually, when I first heard that name, I actually thought for a second, I was like, I wonder if these guys are like, because it's like Revolt.
yeah,
So I'm like, I wonder if these guys are like anti-fiddle. You know what I mean? like they're like, we will never put a fiddle in our song.
we just burn fiddles on stage.
Yeah,
That's our thing.
That would be a hilarious shtick.
Smashing fiddles, like that. So did you guys? How did the Battle of the Land work out? Was that actually a battle? Was it a competition?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a vote-in thing, and then the 3 of them went and played, and it's kind of based on like how many people you could bring and all that, and since we couldn't even bring our whole band, we didn't have a ton of notice. It was like it was a weird thing. They gave us like
It was like 1 week notice.
it was like
that we had.
4 days,
Yeah.
and you know. And then it was like it's on a Saturday. We're finding out like Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever, and it's like, well, we're not going to have a ton of people, you know, because that was at what Tower
It was at Tower City.
Tower City. Cool, super cool stage, really cool pictures. They had a good time.
I mean, it's definitely a real thing. It's put on by iHeartRadio. It's a whole big thing. I mean, we got into They narrowed it down to like 16. There are probably 120, 130 bands
Oh wow.
that were in it, and they narrowed it down to 16.
So are these like private competitions that are going on elsewhere, and then they're all?
It's just a website.
That was an online voting.
So yeah, the
one,
first
I
round
see.
is just online voting.
Okay.
Whoever top 16 bands for the online voting go into the actual live performances, and then you play 3 songs at Tower City, and then they have an in-person voting thing set up there, and then the top 4 bands go on to the finals.
I got you.
We're missing 2/5 of the band,
Yeah.
so
40%.
yeah. So we kind of chalked it up to this was our first year at it, and a lot of bands have been doing it a bunch of times. So like my philosophy was like, all right, this year was a nice little experiment, but like next year we're gonna go for it and really
Be a
try.
little more ready.
You be a little bit more ready, do a little bit more promotion stuff because it really is a cool thing that they're doing. I mean,
But,
it's,
you know,
it's
when you
free
do
to
these-
enter, you know.
When you do these kind of competitions or these online competitions, in some ways they're like a popularity contest.
That is exactly
yeah.
what this is.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
is
like
exactly what this is.
You're right.
But
A
I
lot of
100%
stuff
agree.
ends up being that way. And I mean, look at mainstream pop radio and stuff. Like, it is quite literally not about talent in so many facets of it. It's a popularity contest.
It's about
Yeah, it is.
And at the end
No,
of
for
the
sure.
day, you can fight it as much as you want, but at the end of the day, like, we're only benefiting a venue or a bar or whatever, like, if we bring people, and it's only beneficial to us if we're bringing people, and it's only beneficial to people if, you know, they're enjoying our music and we're giving them, like, what they want.
Yeah.
So, like, that's, you know, part of where we're at right now. At least we've been around long enough to be in, you know, getting recognized enough to get into Battle of the Land and stuff, but really finding that, you know, demographic and that big following is kind of where we're at, looking for going on tour in the future and like being able to maybe not have 17 other jobs and side projects and you know,
Right.
stuff is changing all the time. You know, I always say that people don't realize like what a volatile situation, like, you know, being in a band is, like trying to not only find the time to get 5 people together, but to like have that, you know, level of connection and creativity. Like, the best way I heard it described is a guy said it's like having 5 girlfriends, and it was like, like, I've never thought about it like that, but it is. You have to maintain those relationships and, you know, not kill each other.
Yeah, for sure. If you watch the show a lot, that topic comes up quite often about it's like a marriage.
Yep. And never
There's-
date anybody in your band, obviously. You know, we're all dudes. So we don't.
Yeah,
need
if you
to
guys
worry
start
about
dating
that,
each other,
but-
you're probably the other guys will
But,
probably make fun of you.
yeah, probably.
Speaking of that, I want to get into some of the merchandise you guys got.
Speaking of, good segue.
Yeah, like you guys.
So we have the typical stickers. You know, we've got some magnets. You know, lots of fun things. But we do
like the stuff that you know. I got a lot of
Yeah,
stickers. I
but-
got a lot of magnets back here.
Yeah, but
bands give
this-
us all kinds of stuff.
I
But you don't have
doubt
any
you've
of
seen
these.
one of those.
I don't see any of these over there.
I don't.
Now, describe to people at home that don't know exactly what that might be used for.
This is our Fiddle Revolt butt plug. It's actually custom designed with the Fiddle Revolt logo right here for.
Oh, I thought you meant it fit somebody's
Beautiful.
butt.
Yeah,
like
that'd be sweet.
custom
Custom
made to
design.
somebody.
Custom molded.
Little
molded
molded
it.
to your anal.
We molded it from a specific anus.
Yes.
No, but a fan, a schmoingler that was working at a brewery I was running at the time, we were talking about merch, you know, and I said that, so we call our fans schmoinglers.
Why?
And
What's that?
made up word, just something
She-
cool.
She made up a word and just decided to call people that.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
kind of like how Lady Gaga has monsters. You know, we have schmoinglers. We wanted our own.
I got you.
know,
I got
thing. And so we were talking about fidget spinners, and I wanted to get fidget spinners branded and call them fidgety schmoinglers. You know, and she's like, "That's stupid." And I'm going, "Oh, what do you think would be cool merch? A butt plug?" And next thing I know, she goes on Etsy, and she does this without me knowing. She goes on Etsy, she finds our logo, she sends it to a person that makes custom butt plugs, and she sends it, has it shipped to Nigel, our guitarist's name, at my house. That's when we were all living together. And the best ever was this dude got this, and he opens it, and he's like, "Yeah, it's what is it?" He didn't know what it was. So, like, upon learning that, he swiftly threw it down, and
like,
you know, we were crying in the corner, laughing so hard. But
Did you guys? Did anybody know exactly what it was when they first pulled it out? Was everybody like, "Oh yeah, I got one of those"?
I mean, I knew it was coming. No,
Oh,
pun intended.
I got you.
But what we like to do with this is that we'll attach it to our mailing list and we'll say, "Stay plugged in for all the latest Fiddle Revolt
That's
news."
awesome, man.
Yep.
And we say $30 brand new, $50 used.
So you just got the one.
Yeah, we just have the one. It was that.
Would you guys
custom
sell
one
it
for me.
ever? For is there an amount of money that I mean? Obviously there is, but
I mean, it's a great story. I would, if the moment was right, I probably would. But we
It
need
would be
some
pretty
sort
hard
of,
to give this thing up because it's just.
we need
cool.
we need like a
Sorry.
demo of
fun,
it
though.
or something to get it. Photocopy picture rights where maybe
that's true.
Maybe
We
that's
do
the
need-
center of the CD. You
Because
know, I don't know.
Yeah, right. Well,
That's
and I
so
mean, it's
funny.
like perfect because like this is this would be like this is what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
you
right.
won't see any of this.
Or you just have one of you guys mooning the camera with that stuck in his
Yeah,
asshole.
yeah,
See,
right.
no, but that's what I'm saying. We're gonna do that, but with a hot
Album-
babe. You don't want
album
any of
cover.
ours.
Oh, that would be
Album
funny
cover.
though.
It could
It
be.
would
I have a girl that wants to collab on OnlyFans, so we'll see if we can get that rocking.
For real?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
the music part of this whole thing. We've had a lot of fun talking about everything else, but really the music part. You guys got 15 songs, something like that out. You guys actually have a CD out, 10 song CD, self-titled, Fiddle Revolt. How long ago? When did that one come out?
That
was the first thing you put out.
2019. I want to say.
Yeah, that was our COVID project. We kind of finished it up in that realm of timing.
And this is for sale. You guys selling this on Amazon, that kind of thing? You can go buy this. Do you
Yeah,
guys
it's
also
available
stream
everywhere.
it?
Yep,
You also
it's
stream-
streaming. It's on Spotify. It's Apple Music. It's pretty much anywhere. I think if you want it for free and you're old school, I think it's still on like Bandcamp.
Yeah. We have it on Bandcamp. If you want to pay us $1, you can have it for $1.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're more interested in putting our music into your hands than we are for getting money.
It's what you can get for it because it's not. It's
Exactly.
very minimal.
Very minimal.
You'd rather have people show up at the gig and that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep, and just enjoy it. Like, it's nice to, when somebody's heard of you or something, it's cool, like, knowing that you're doing something in the scene.
Some of the songs on that first CD that did you guys release it in like singles type thing, or you just put the CD out? Is there like, some favorites on there?
Yes, actually. So before the album, we released a double-sided single that was "Wake Up" and "Scrapin'."
That's kind of an old school thing you did.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
like the old 45 thing where you had the side A, B, on the other side.
Just like a one-off little single.
Yeah.
Just 2 songs on it. And we released that a couple months beforehand, and then we dropped the whole 10-song album. But we put those 2 songs on there. Those are 2 of our like oldest songs. Those ones have been in the band, and even like almost before the band. Even like those songs were already conceptually
I think those were, derivatives of
Nigel
partial songs.
Like Nigel and I've been playing music for so long. That happens every now and then.
So at this point, you guys are still thinking full LP type stuff, album stuff like that. That's kind of old school thinking anymore. It's like
Everything's changing so fast.
Right.
Like, we actually had that conversation at one point. I remember sitting in the meeting where we were talking about how we weren't going to do a CD next time and thinking how bizarre that seemed in my head, right? Because, like, I'm 35. I'm old enough that, like, when I think of music, like, I think of buying a CD, or even, at the time when it was burning CDs and using Napster and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, you go from the album, the vinyl being physically in your hand and having to turn it and not being able to skip through to, what I call now, like, music ADD, where people listen to like 30 seconds of songs on Spotify and then switch it, and they want to show you like this, and it's like 30 seconds, and it's like,
I hate that.
so
yeah, it's weird. You're right though.
It's
Getting through a whole
bizarre.
song.
People do different stuff, and that's why I was talking about doing a video, because it's like instant gratification, and it's like, how do you get people to listen to it? That's a weird thing that, when you go into this, there's so many things you think about, and, it's how do we get this CD done and blah, blah, blah. How do we get to it? And then it's like, we never thought about, like, how do you get somebody to actually listen to it?
Yeah,
and
right.
it's way harder.
It's different than you think.
It's
it is.
way harder
Yeah.
than you think.
It's the same thing with this podcast. It's no different. How
Yep.
do you get people to watch your podcast? It's the same thing. You might you feel like you're putting out quality. You feel like you got it all figured out. The problem is that nobody cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The problem is nobody
It's
cares.
time, man. Time is the most precious
It
thing
is.
to everybody, and that takes whatever takes that little bit of time is that hindrance between them actually doing it. you
Yeah,
know?
and the time was more put into putting out an LP, which means you have 8 to 10 songs, and you got to work on each song and perfect it, and then you work on that song more, and da da da. Now it seems like you write one good song, you work on that song, tweak it, and then you work on the video aspect of it, and then you work on promotion part of it, and it's just one song. You put almost the same energy you would put into an LP into this one song. It's just you take it further. You go into the video aspect and the promotional aspect just for one song, and then in another month or two, you do another one, and another month or two, you do another one. This is the new norm. So yeah, I kind of like the singling. So that's what you guys have kind of done. The last few songs is put out singles, and not so much a collection of work. And is that you're going to kind of stay in that vein, you think, as far as moving on in the future?
I mean, we talked about even it's something that we're constantly thinking about, what the customer actually wants, what the market is going towards. Actual vinyl has made a comeback, and I have a vinyl thing, Twan has a vinyl setup. And strangely enough, it's that weird thing where the people who are buying the stuff might actually be buying vinyl more than CDs. We saw historically, for the first time ever, vinyl went up and CDs went down in the past year or whatever, which is, so we talked about putting it on a freaking flash drive, or having things with just a QR code that.
So just having the hard copy is still important. You feel like physically being able to touch something, there's something to that. Because I always talk about vinyl. The one thing about vinyl that I think was the coolest thing about it wasn't the sound or anything. It was the freaking art. You had, before videos.
You look at Yes. And
those little those inserts. There'd just be entire paintings in there for no reason.
Yeah, there's
awesome.
something to be said about the sleeve and the lyrics being printed. You could read them. You could actually see the letters on it because it's big enough print. Where you're not trying to squeeze it on this little ass thing.
But that's where it almost made it more tangible in that period of time, right? People had a connection with that I feel like they don't as much with the digital age. That's why they changed it in 2 seconds on Spotify. They didn't experience that time where you would actually have to wait and flip the album,
Well, not only that, but wait, wait for music to come out, and then you couldn't even still hear it.
Right.
You had to go buy it, and then you might be able to hear it. You know what I mean? It was totally different time.
And that's why it's weird now navigating that. Everything's fully accessible, but what do people want, and what makes them, appreciate it and go back for it.
On these singles, any songs stand out? Like we were just talking about, you have a few songs that
we had talked about Lemons a little bit earlier. That was one of the ones that I helped write. I played drums and keys on that one. All of our songs are a group effort, at least in a slight part, but that one I do sing on. That was pretty fun. I was able to sneak in some of our favorite catchphrases. Yeah. We like to say these are all just words for whenever we're just talking, this doesn't mean anything. These are all just words, and I snuck that in there somehow. I said these are all just words employed to serenade. We also like to talk about bitches be trifling.
Yeah.
So
BBT, man.
Yeah. So then the second verse, I'm saying my ears are ringing from all these bitches trifling, and then they echo, bitches trifling.
My ears are ringing from these bitches trifling. Telling me all my music wouldn't change a thing. How else do you expect me to release my demons? I play this song and I can almost be free of them. Recognize my insecurity. I'm tired of lying, claiming I'm doing fine. Feels like I'm wasting time.
Great song. You should listen to it. It's really fun.
Lemons.
Yeah, Lemons.
Let's see. On this one, I would say, our anthem is kind of Wake Up. That's kind of the anthem, because he had written that melody, and then I gave him the idea, when the whole country band thing played out. I was like, what if you, wrote it about that dude? And, he had been going, months without figuring out how to put lyrics to this, and it was, an hour. And he was like, what? You know, and then an hour later he has the song done. So that kind of is like one of our anthems. Our Way is a little more poppy, and that's kind of like our like radio single, like our little John Mayer-esque or something like that.
Okay.
Little like fan favorite there too, unexpected fan favorite. We wrote that song in one night.
Oh, Blow Me
That's
Up.
the way it works, man.
But Blow Me Up is kind of like
that's
cult,
another one.
That's the cult favorite of this one. I wrote that way back during, it was like the San Bernardino shooting that like sparked me to write that. And then, but it's like a really playful, like upbeat, you know, way to present that kind of material. And it's catchy enough and like repetitive enough that like people latched onto the chorus, which is just up, 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 up. So that kind of became like a crowd favorite for like live
probably
shows.
our most requested live song, I would say.
No kidding.
Is Blow Me Up, yeah.
Cool. That's cool.
Which is
New
another like
ones.
6.5 minute
Right.
long song that for some reason people, you know.
We dig
New
it,
ones,
man.
I would say. I mean, all the new ones are cool and have that potential to do the you know, be the single, and they're different. Like Constant Light has that weird wah pedal on the
It's like a-
violin.
It's got some grungy guitar and then the violin wah, and I'm playing a really dirty synth.
Breakdown.
Are you
I always
running
say
through
Breakdown is
pedals?
kind of like Muse.
No, it's just a Roland.
So I run the
it's a
violin
workstation,
through
yeah.
pedals, actually. So I
He
take
does, yeah.
my pedal board for my guitar is the same for my violin. I just have a switch.
Oh, cool.
So
Cool, man. That's cool. Guys, got any gigs coming up? Pretty anytime.
yeah, December 3rd, at the Jenks building in Cuyahoga
The
Falls.
Jenks building.
Yeah, which is
Camel
super
Butter. We
cool.
know Camel Butter. We've had them on here. They
There
play
you
there. a
go.
lot.
It's a super cool thing. It's really eclectic. It's like a neighborhood vibe. Very artsy. They have wine and wine tastings. They have local art. They have musicians. It's really cool. They
Yeah.
have coffee. They actually have Yada Yada Coffee, and Korn. The band Korn was there not too long ago. Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. Like
Wow.
Korn showed up to the Jenks building to
Really?
promote their Yada Yada Coffee.
Oh, that's what it is. Oh,
Yeah, they have
oh,
their
oh.
own coffee with them called Coffee with a K because it's Korn.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
But yeah, so we're playing there December 3rd, and that's through my friend Ben Gage, who's another incredible musician in the area. He put that together for us. It's going to be different.
That'll be a fun one, yeah.
It's going to be different for us because we're going to do like an acoustic kind of stripped down as much as we do kind of thing, which like we're still so anal about our like sound and production that it won't be just like five of us in a room. Like we'll be, you know, plugged in here and there, but it'll be a cajon kit and like acoustic instruments.
Twan
and
might be pulling out the upright stand.
it would be cool. I don't know if he's gonna have space in that building, but we'll explore that.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
I just think, you know, I don't know what it is. I know it's just me, but whenever I see that happen, I'm a Primus guy, so
uprights are sweet.
I love
It's
Les
sweet,
Claypool.
yeah.
Yeah, and I love when he would pull out the upright and I just
Yeah.
looks cool.
It's
Les
just
Claypool's
to
cool.
break out like the whole truck just to bring the instrument in.
Yeah, it's
You
big.
would.
It's a big one.
So we're doing that. Then next year we'll be back at the Greenville. That's one of our kind of like stomping grounds. I'm gonna work on booking some stuff here. One thing that I'm working on. Again, I mentioned my girlfriend is director of Stowe Monroe Falls Orchestra, and like we know a lot of musicians in the area, like Jeff Clem, who's also like a music teacher. And what I'm working on putting together is a show that is like a benefit where some of the money goes back to like bands and orchestras in schools, because
Oh, that's cool.
when you look at stuff today, like they've lost such a perspective of like what real music is, because like there isn't a lot of it in mainstream. You know, it's your
Electronic,
your
lot-
Fatty
It's a lot of-
Wops and your Megan
a
Thee
lot of-
Stallions and your
It's
whatever.
a lot of
and it's-
laptop. It's a lot of laptop
Yeah.
jockeys.
yeah, and
Yeah, it
so
is.
so giving them again like the tangible piece of instrument and music and giving them that experience, like, you know, that's something Fiddle Revolt wants to be a part of. So we'll look for that. That'll probably be a thing. I'd like to have some of the students actually sit in and play with us for that, which will be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Because we haven't done that yet. And hopefully new material and, you know, more shows and all that good stuff will be coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, and once a band comes on our show, Pat runs the website for us, and he if you go on levelupcleveland.com, he does a really good job. And so once the band's on the show, he creates this whole page for you, and then
Sweet.
you'll be able to, he links everything to everywhere for you. So you just go to one place, and he also promotes everybody's gigs. He'll promote any of your new releases.
Awesome.
Everything just gets promoted now Once you're in, you're. We always say they're like our children.
Level
We
up.
always treat all the bands like our kids. We're like, well, how's
Love
he
it.
doing?
Oh,
You seen
thanks.
it?
LevelUpCleveland.com.
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 We'll get you the website.
We've been, in the Northeast Ohio music scene forever, and it's such a great group of people. It's super diverse, and everybody knows each other. Like, as soon as we talked about, like, Cleveland music scene, like, I know Mark, you know Mark. Like, we all, what's the guy that we were about to record with? Jim Wirt? Is it Jim Wirt?
Yeah, Jim Wirtz.
Like,
from,
everybody seems to know everybody, and everybody's out to help, and, like, Beachland Ballroom has been around forever. I've been in bands where, like, 3/5 of the band work there, and just, like,
Oh yeah.
people
I
underestimate
used to
the
work
scene
there.
in Ohio, and, like, the scene in Ohio is killer. Like, there's amazing musicians. Like, that's why you're getting the Black Keys and 21 Pilots and all that kind of shit out of Ohio. Dave Grohl, 9 Inch Nails. Like, it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's here for a reason.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
you're right, man. Things are. If there's one thing, we might not have the best sports franchises, but our music scene's pretty.
Yeah.
good.
And I mean, big shout out to you guys. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Thanks, man.
content
Thank you,
creators
guys.
like you, like, promoting with no real kickback for your own self.
None.
But just like, yeah, we've had a couple of, like, it's really awesome to meet people like you willing to promote local music on your own time and do a big production like this. Like, thanks for having us on. It really does mean a lot to us.
No, I appreciate that. We both do. That we love when people at least acknowledge that we've.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
no,
pretty
this
cool.
is a lot of work that you guys are doing just to, like, help us know. But, I mean, like,
Yeah, who knows where it'll go one day? I mean, this show could be,
Yeah.
but right now, I mean, I'm having
Exactly.
the fun in this show is meeting you guys, all the different musicians we meet.
that's why we're here in Cleveland. We love this community. It's great.
I've never thought about the fact that musicians kind of get paid in stories, but that's an interesting way to look at it. 'Cause
Totally.
It's not normally money, but there's lots of stories, man.
Oh my God, they're the best. They're the best stories. All right, guys, we're out of time. I really thank you guys for coming down and hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, this
Thank
was cool.
you. It was great.
Like
Really
I
glad.
said, check out levelupcleveland.com. That'll pretty much. You guys got your own website too, though.
We have the fiddlerevolt.com.
Yeah,
so we're
FiddleRevolt.com,
everywhere. Facebook,
TFR.band if you're in a hurry.
Yeah, right. You guys got everything everywhere.
Yeah.
And what's cool about you guys, there's no two Fiddle Revolts. There's just the one.
So there's
That's
just-
right.
So there's no way to confuse it.
Typically, if you start typing The Fiddle on any Google, on any website, we are the first band
comes
to pop
right
up.
up. Yeah, there's
because nobody named their band The
Brilliant.
Fiddle, right?
Let me just say
I
how
know,
brilliant
right?
that
I love
is.
that. It's so great.
All right, guys, that's it for us. Fiddle Revolt, check them out when you can, when you see them. We're out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That'll be fine.